Now, as I mentioned earlier, there's no change to the latest Newspoll. Two-party preferred has Labor behind 49-51. But there was a telling question about whether Labor and Albanese deserve to be re-elected, and 53% said no. Even 12% of Labor voters said that Labor didn't deserve another term. Let me bring in former Labor Senator John Black, election analyst, who joins us live from Brisbane. Good to talk to you again, John. I'm very, very keen on your just broad assessment of polls. I often ignore them sort of halfway through a cycle because I think people just use them to send a message to government, if you like. It's not a hard sort of electoral choice. But when we're getting this close to the actual election, and certainly once it's called, polls can be very, very indicative, right?
That's right. They start to get a bit more serious. People are starting to make their decisions now. So it's harder to get through to them, but when they make a decision now, they're reluctant to change it simply because they pay a lot less attention than we do, Chris, to what politicians say. They make their mind up and they tend to stick to it towards the end.
And when you talk about a 2% difference on two-party preferred, it's within the margin of error. But let's say it's accurate. Say there's a clear 2% difference. Is that enough to change government in the current circumstances if those swings are big enough in the seats where they're needed and the Labor Party vote holds up in other areas, say in the inner cities?
Yeah, look, absolutely. What we're seeing is that I think the Labor Party last time, 2022, polled around about 52.5% after preferences, and they're now polling around about 48.5%, 49.5% after preferences in the surveys. They're all basically singing from the same song sheet. So that's a swing of around about 3.5% to 4.5% to 5%. Now, what that means, Chris, is you're going to see a range of swings of probably 3 times that amount, a range of about 15%. All the evidence indicates that the swings are going to be biggest against Labor in the outer urban marginal seats that they need to hold government. And the flip side of that is that there may be minor swings towards the Labor Party or against the coalition in some of their traditionally safer seats as well. So that's something for the coalition to watch out for right now.
Do you think some of the teal seats could go back to the coalition?
Look, I've been watching the Liberal vote, the coalition vote, and the primary vote has been steadily increasing. I think Dutton's increased by around about 2 to 3%, the primary vote. Now, that's in this kind of context, that's a big move. And that's happened pretty slowly and evenly over a couple of years. Now, if he increases the primary vote by 2 to 3%, it's hard to see the coalition not winning back. Certainly Curtin in WA and 1 or 2 of the teal seats in Victoria. The New South Wales ones, the ones around Sydney, would be a lot more difficult for them to get into. But equally now they've got to guard their flanks because the Teals are now contesting a lot of National Party, hitherto National Party or safe Liberal Party seats. Out in places, like Wannon and Nichols and so on, Cowper. There's a lot of those seats that are now being fought by pretty activist, independent teal candidates, and that's something that the coalition need to focus on.
Now, the economy matters to voters. It's the biggest factor, surely, in driving people to change their vote or vote in a particular way at elections. And we've had constant inflation here. Cost of living pressures are really heavy on so many people around the country. And overlaying that, I suppose, there's a sense that I get. We all want our children to be better off than we are, and that's been the happy story in Australia's prosperity for all the post-war decades, really. We've been able to see things getting better and better all the while. At the moment, I think for the first time, people my age are thinking, our kids are ending up with a situation that's more difficult. They're going to have a tougher life economically than we've had. Do you think these factors are going to be telling come May or April when the election's going to be held?
Yeah, look what we're seeing, we saw it in this poll, is that people have run out of patience with Albanese and with the government. And I think you said something like 88% of coalition voters wanted to give somebody else a go. It was also 66% of others, which presumably would include teal voters, and 68% of people who are 65 and over. So the older age group is running out of patience, basically, for the government. All of the evidence indicates you get the economics right, the politics follows. the economic growth and economic security, prices under control, they're all fundamental benchmarks for voters, and they have been for a long, long time. That and immigration is another one, because what we're seeing right across the Western world now is that fertility is falling, and as it falls, what we're seeing is increasing migration to make up for that from poorer countries, and that's causing a lot of tensions in the countries where they're moving to. So this is an international problem, and if politicians don't handle it well, like the Biden government didn't in the United States, they get voted out. There's no doubt about it.